Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. I'm so excited to be back podcasting, and today we are going to be talking about the Sabrina Carpenter, Shawn Mendes, and Camila Cabello love triangle that is kind of being revealed with Sabrina Carpenter's new album, Short and Sweet. And I just have to first start by saying that I feel like an idiot. Like, put your hands up if you saw those photos last year of Sabrina Carpenter and Shawn Mendes and you said to yourself, can't fool me, I know what's going on. They're part of the same record label, I think Island Records or something. And obviously, this is PR. This is a PR pairing, and it's fake. And then this album came out, and there was one line. If you're a member of the Patreon, we already did a Sabrina Carpenter album review all the way over there on there for an episode. But I've been listening to the album nonstop, and there's one line in it where she goes, "We had sex, I met your best friends, and then a bird flies by and you forget." And I feel like the "we had sex" line was like directed to me and all of us, because when I saw those photos of them together, I went, fake. And, as she would say, they had sex and she met his best friends. And what's even more surprising, the story that we get from this album is basically that Sabrina and Shawn were together. They were hooking up. It was a short and sweet thing. It could have been more, but then guess who kind of worms her way back into everything? Camila Cabello, with sending him pictures of herself wearing less and less, them hooking up in Palm Springs, which we saw online as the Coachella makeout between Shawn and Camila. So I am just so excited to dive into this episode and see what the fuck is going on. We're going to do a little bit of a timeline of them. We're going to go into some blind items, see if that can reveal anything. I'm going to add some notes of my own. And then I kind of have a few working theories as to why Shawn Mendes was responsible for this mess and why he allegedly left Sabrina Carpenter to get back together with Camila Cabello and kind of the dynamic of their relationship. I have a fun few theories for you guys. Now, a few things I want to say up top before we get into the timeline, and I mentioned some of this over on Patreon, but number one, what I think is so interesting is that our suspicion of celebrities is at an all-time high. Who's responsible for that? Who's spreading these conspiracy theories all across the internet about celebrities? I don't know. But I will say, I don't know, and I'm trying to have a self-aware moment with myself. I'm curious what your thoughts are too. I don't know if a celebrity could do anything in a relationship to make me 100% trust it. And we've seen this with every celebrity. For example, I'm thinking of when Taylor Swift showed up at the first Chiefs game and everybody was like, she's getting paid by the NFL. It is PR for the NFL. Or Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. I mentioned this over on Patreon, but back when I was in New York, I went out. I'll say it now because it's been years, but I went out on a few dates with this guy whose sister worked at a hospital. I'm like totally blowing up his spot now, but whatever. His sister worked at a hospital, and Pete Davidson, I believe he also had a sister who worked at that same hospital or something like that. And I was like, oh my God. So like, what's going on with like Pete and Ariana or Kim, or like how much of that was real, because Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian seemed so fucking fake to me. Even though he branded himself with the names of her children, which like we can't even get into how, if that was a woman, the way that she would have been sent to the asylum immediately. But anyway, this guy was like, oh, Pete and his family and parents like did not like Ariana Grande, but they really like Kim Kardashian because she has her like head screwed on straight and she's a mother and she was like way more down to earth than Ariana Grande. And I'm like sipping my cocktail, like drinking everything in. But I was just so shook by that and shook by everything. And I think this could kind of be not like a learning lesson for us, but I think we globbed on to the idea of like celebrity PR relationships so much in this fun, delicious idea that there's a contract that you sign and everything is fake. And what's the true story? Like, trust me, I love conspiracy theories. I get it. But now, after having listened to this album, I think the next time I see a celebrity couple, I'm going to start with blind faith and assume that perhaps they might be dating, or at the very least, We had sex. I met his best friends, having sex. All right, another interesting thing that I noticed, and we will be talking about this. I'm so sorry if speculating about sexuality, turns you off. Turn this off because there's going to be some of it in this episode. But how interesting is it that with Sabrina Carpenter's first love triangle, Joshua Bassett and Olivia Rodrigo, Joshua Bassett has so many rumors about his sexuality and if he's gay. And then her second love triangle with Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello, so many rumors and speculation that Shawn Mendes is gay. So I don't know. Maybe next she'll be in a love triangle with Bradley Cooper and Gigi Hadid, or I don't know, something like that. Okay. Let's kind of get into this timeline and see how well it lines up with Sabrina's story of basically she gets together with Shawn Mendes. Shawn Mendes is a little bit of a pussy boy, a little bit of a I'm all about my feelings, and I'm all about my feelings, but I'm also kind of a fuck boy, which is this new kind of tasty delight swirl of a man that I feel like we're really seeing a lot of in 2024. And then we were together, and then Camila kind of starts worming her way in and she snatches him back, but she's still going to have to taste me when she's kissing him because I was here. Let's get into it. Last note, I know I keep giving so many notes. I re-listened to Señorita today and I watched the music video and the performance. Pretty horny. Like, honestly, the chemistry still stands up after so many years. The line in Señorita hits different now when she goes, "You say we're just friends, but friends don't know the way you taste. La la la." Taste. Okay, taste. We're talking about a lot of tasting with all of these couples. It makes sense for Shawn and Camila because the way that they made out with each other, they were tasting each other's microbiomes. Oh my God, it was just like so much like licking and sucking. Okay, whatever. Fuck this. Let's get into the timeline. Okay, this is the official timeline of this trifecta. So, July 2019 to November 2021. So, for about 2 years, Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello are dating, and their chemistry is all over the place. They put out multiple songs together, and the songs do fucking well. Like, I think maybe I was a little bit too old for it, but Señorita has almost 2 billion views just on the music video alone. And I remember I was driving when it came out. I think I was living in Florida. It was on the radio all the time. Señorita was like a huge, I don't think of it because I guess I didn't really vibe with the song that much, but it was monstrous. And they were the couple all over each other, lots of chemistry. And then after 2 years together, they break up on Instagram in a joint statement saying, "Hey guys, we've decided to end our romantic relationship, but our love for one another as humans is stronger than ever. We started our relationship as best friends and will continue to be best friends. We so appreciate your support from beginning and moving forward." They're best friends, but best friends don't know the way you taste. La la la. I will say there's parts in this sentence that are, it's not as bad as a conscious uncoupling or whatever the fuck Gwyneth Paltrow did with Chris Martin. But our love for one another as humans is stronger than ever. Honestly, from what Sabrina was kind of self-describing Shawn Mendes to be, she was like, oh my God, he jacks off to lyrics by Leonard Cohen. He says that he's so sensitive and that mushrooms changed his life. I feel like now this joint statement hits a little bit different. Our love for one another as humans is so much stronger. Yeah, you don't love each other like pigeons. Like, what the fuck are we doing, Anyway, who knows, whatever. It seemed nice. And I honestly do believe they are best friends and they have a very strong history and relationship together. Like, obviously they're fun to make fun of because they do so many things that are just so easy to make fun of. But I do think there was and is a lot of love between Shawn and Camila. So now we skip ahead 2 years and we're in February of 2023. And this is when we first start to get news that Shawn Mendes and Sabrina Carpenter might be dating. And who started it? None other than frenemy of the podcast, Du Moi. There was an anonymous submission that was shared, spotted Shawn Mendes and Sabrina Carpenter on Clearly a date. And then about a week later, they are seen walking around in LA. And this is, you've probably seen the images. It's like they're walking down some sort of street in LA. Shawn Mendes looks super tall. She looks super short. And she's wearing like a big hoodie. And people are now using that photo as a reference to Sabrina's song where she goes, "You're wondering why half his clothes are missing. My body is where they're at," or something like that, because it looks like she's wearing his clothes in the photo. Now, a couple weeks later, we're in March 2023, and Shawn Mendes and Sabrina Carpenter leave Miley Cyrus's album release party together. And this is where we kind of first get the official, like, good quality paparazzi photos of them, because of course a bunch of paparazzi are waiting outside for celebrities to come out of this party. And the photos that I saw on TikTok when this happened, it was like, wow, they're attending the party together. They're walking out together. And then everybody said, it's fake. It's PR. Shawn Mendes is obviously gay. These are just things that the internet were saying. What's interesting is that when you watch the video, everybody's shouting for Shawn and he walks out first, and then Sabrina kind of walks out after him and she just goes straight to the car, whereas Shawn lingers and he's got a glass of wine and he's taking some selfies with fans. So they walked out together and it's obvious that they're going to leave together, but it didn't look very cozy in the video. In the photos it did though. And what else is interesting too, and we're going to talk about this later in the episode, everybody was just shouting, "Shawn, Shawn, Shawn." And like one person said, "Sabrina." Shawn Mendes is a much bigger star than I realize. And we're going to talk about this later in the episode because I think there's some interesting angles to that. So anyway, 2 days later, they both attend the Vanity Fair's Oscars after party, and they don't walk the red carpet together, but you can kind of see in the background of some videos that they are there together and they're chatting over drinks and stuff like that. The day after that Oscars party, a source goes to Entertainment Tonight and they're like, Shawn and Sabrina are seeing each other. They're hanging out a lot. They're keeping it low key. But you know, they've like gone to different events and parties together, and Shawn is really happy. 4 days later, it looks like a source from Shawn Mendes' camp comes out and goes, no, they're not dating. And he also does an interview and they ask him, "Are you dating Sabrina Carpenter?" And he says, quote, "We are not dating, but I think we should talk about Tommy Hilfiger probably more than Sabrina." And then he changes the subject because I think he was doing some sort of Tommy Hilfiger thing. This must be so hard when you are a celebrity because, like, obviously, when you see someone, there's the stage of talking and flirting, making out, dry humping, penetration, meeting the friends, meeting the family. Like all of these things happen over the course of weeks and months. And then you get to that point where you go, we are exclusively dating. We want to show the world that we're together and make this commitment to each other, etc. But normally for like us normies, we don't have to be so black and white about it until you're a few months in. And if I was Sabrina or just any girl in Hollywood, let's say, for example, Gracie Abrams and Paul Mescal right now, right? Like there's all these rumors that they're kind of in that stage of like getting to know each other, seeing what's going to happen. If then an interview comes out and you have to deny that you're dating someone because you're not yet dating, maybe it's because you want to, but you haven't had the talk yet, or maybe it's because you don't want to or whatever. And then you say, "We're not dating," but you guys have been like having sex and going out to events to each other. Ugh, like I would feel like a knife in the heart. Like that's just got to be, not to like be like, it's so hard to be a celebrity. It is. But that is something that I think we can all agree would be painful. So anyway, then a month goes by and it seems like from Sabrina's angle of her lyrics, they're still hooking up, having sex, hanging out with each other. And then Shawn goes to Coachella in Palm Springs. And this is when we get a bunch of videos of him and Camila hanging out at the festival. You know, she's standing there. His arms are around her. They're kind of cuddling up to each other. And at one point, they taste each other's microbiomes, just like the good old days. And they start making out at Coachella. And I will say, like, you got to hand it to them. Their chemistry is pretty on point. Like, they just seem very natural with each other. You know, I feel like some couples, it just feels a little bit, I'm trying to think of someone who is like an awkward kisser or toucher. No one's coming to mind, but if I think about it, I know of a bunch, and they just always seem so natural with each other. So gut-wrenching for Sabrina, but beautiful for people who are fans of chemistry. And then a week goes by and a source goes to Entertainment Tonight again, and they say that Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello aren't dating. They aren't officially back together, but they're just enjoying each other's company. They're seeing where things go. They got caught up in the moment at Coachella. They're just attracted to each other and they care about each other. They're having fun. Then a month goes by and it seems like it's getting a little bit more serious because Shawn and Camila are seen walking through New York City. They're holding hands. The next day they're seen having dinner in New York City. Then they're seen saying goodbye to each other outside of his apartment. It seems like things are back on. It's pretty obvious. I feel like holding hands in public is the celebrity sign of like, we're together again. Then a month goes by and they call it off. And we kind of hear a little bit of this in Sabrina's song Coincidence, where she goes, da-da-da, you just broke up again. What a coincidence. They're so on and off. So this is in June 2023. The source goes back to Entertainment Tonight and says Shawn and Camila broke up and they're no longer seeing each other. They gave things a try, but the timing isn't right. They're staying busy and doing their own thing. Now we go from the summer all the way into the fall of that same year. Sabrina Carpenter puts out a Christmas EP, Fruitcake. And there's a line in here that people think might be about this situation. Quote, maybe he met you somewhere in the desert while he was soul searching. He found someone better. Guess he makes you happy like I couldn't do. Cindy Lou Who. For anyone who doesn't know, Coachella is the concert that takes place in Palm Springs out in the desert where they were making out. So some people were like, I also feel like it has to be about them because otherwise, why are you singing about the desert for a Christmas album? It just wouldn't make sense. It has to be a little bit of a nod to the situation. So then we go to this year recently. Camila releases her album CXOXO, which, by the way, has anyone listened to it? I feel like we all made fun of the album just because it seemed... The thing about Camila Cabello, I'm going to talk about this later in the episode, I think she just does a little bit too much. And I know I sound like such a hating ass bitch saying that, but I just think she does a little bit too much. And I think if she did a little bit less, things would seem a little bit more natural and maybe authentic. And maybe this is because I read the blind items and we're going to get into hers and it seems a little try hard in what she does. But I don't know, the album just had that reputation, so I didn't listen to it. But as of today, trying to figure out what's going on with this triangle, I've listened to a few songs from it and it actually seems kind of like a banger. So I might do a little album review of that sometime this month. Anyway, on this album that she puts out on June 28th, there is a song on it called June Gloom. And check out some of these lyrics in the song. People think that it is about the situation. She's cool, I heard. Won't act surprised, I saw the pictures. We're a house fire for sure. Hope it'll burn out, but it just gets bigger. And then there's another lyric that says, if she's so amazing, why are you on this side of town? If you like her so much, what are you here trying to find out? And not only is it the song and the lyrics, but she recently made a TikTok video of just her, singing along to the song. And it was that song, June Gloom. Everybody's saying too, of course you have to make a TikTok. Like if Sabrina comes out with an album and it's about you and Shawn Mendes and you want your career to do well, this is a business opportunity. Like I don't think it's shady at all to make a TikTok video about that. I would do exactly the same thing if I was Camila. And I just have to say, for the people of us who love mess, how exciting is it that the three people involved in this are all singers? How delightful. And what's even more delightful is that on September 11th, Sabrina, Shawn, and Camila are all performing at the MTV VMAs. And the VMAs is like when shit gets messy. I'm so excited for it. I'm going to mark it off my calendar. Maybe we'll do a little live stream or watch together. And they are all slated to perform, which I feel like is kind of weird. Why the fuck is Shawn Mendes performing? What has he even put out lately? Maybe they're going to do Senorita. Look, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be messy. I believe Shawn Mendes should be putting out music this year, so we know that's going to be addressed. If anything, I feel like Camila is probably kicking herself ugh, should I put out a single? Like, I got to take advantage of what's going on. So anyway, that is the timeline. And I believe the timeline matches up perfectly with everything that Sabrina is saying. So we can do a little checkmate on that scenario. Now let's move over to some of the blind items that are going on with Shawn and Sabrina, Shawn and Camila, and just Shawn Mendes in general. And then we'll get to some of my notes and theories that I have on why this kind of played out this way. So this is a long blind item. It says, PR Barbie. This foreign-born A-list singer, Shawn Mendes, for anyone who doesn't know, I believe he's Canadian, so foreign-born, is getting ready to release music and make a comeback next year. However, his label, Island Records, and his team have been pressuring him all year to make it official with this wannabe Barbie singer, who would be Sabrina Carpenter, who is also on his label, Island Records. She's had multiple albums and none have reached the top 10, let alone number 1. Currently, she is an opening act for the biggest tour, Taylor Swift on Eras, and she still couldn't get a big hit or higher on the charts. Keep in mind, this blind item is from like 6 months ago. Their label has invested half of the year's marketing budget just on her, and they still didn't get the big hits, like her vampire counterpart, Olivia Rodrigo. The thinking goes that if our foreign-born singer, Shawn Mendes, commits this time to be a couple and not just showing up to a couple of events, but really committing to the story and the show, they can have his big comeback and get her first number 1 and a bigger album next year and tour. He's not into her for obvious reasons, and he doesn't want it, but he has agreed since he wants a career comeback and will need to promote new music and a new album set for around March or April of next year. What better way than to make it about another singer on her way up on the same label? His team posted pics of him with Barbie/Sabrina to get gossip started and get a feel for interest. The narrative will be that they hated the illiterate singer, Camila Cabello, and she hurt their angel, and they now love Sabrina, and she saved their angel. Now he just has to get inspired to write fake songs about a girl he has zero in common with and isn't into. The other singer, Camila, and him had been best friends for years prior to dating publicly, and they had a lot in common and their families were close. This will just be a PR, and they have to fake it since there is not a strong bond to work from. As for Sabrina, she doesn't care. She would do PR with anyone to get big. She's obsessed at this point and doesn't understand why she's not bigger. She thinks she is more talented and sexier and has a cooler, edgier image than the other female singers to whom she is compared. Well, obviously that blind item was from about 6 months ago. It's basically saying it was fake, but I think that there's a few things in here that are true that we can look at. Number 1, Sabrina and Shawn are on the same label. You know, if she does good and he does good, it's great for them. So I could see them having a little bit of a hand into this. Number 2, he has a new album set for March or April of next year. I feel like that makes sense. If anything, I feel like it should come earlier. Like, don't lose the momentum. Like, let's try to have it come out in the winter or something like that. And another thing that I think is true is that him and Camila really did have a strong bond and a lot to connect over. And Shawn and Sabrina, like, I just don't really see any similarities there whatsoever. And then I also agree with the end that Sabrina is more talented and sexier and does have a cooler image than a lot of the other female singers. Although I guess that was Olivia Rodrigo. I love her. Chappell Roan, obviously incredible. She's compared to Taylor Swift, but her and Taylor are just so different. I see a lot of Ariana Grande in Sabrina Carpenter right now. Okay, let's move on to the next blind item here. Megan Blondal, which is going to be a code name here for Sabrina Carpenter, recently released her album, and it's making waves for a few reasons. First, it's clear that she's still holding a grudge against her ex, the Canadian singer, and his Cuban ex-girlfriend. Last year, after their PR-driven relationship ended because he wouldn't commit and instead rekindled things with his ex, Sabrina wanted to do a part 2, but he declined and moved on with an older woman, Dr. Jocelyn Miranda. We will be talking about the girlfriends that Shawn Mendes has had in the past 2 years, who are kind of related to maybe like a little bit of a cult situation that he's in. A lot of people say celebrities are in cults, but I just think when you are a celebrity and you have such a weak foundation and kind of no morals in your life and you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men, I think a lot of celebrities do gravitate to almost like a cult-like group of people. I'm not sure if I'm ready to call it a cult, but like self-improvement, mindset, spirituality, something like that. And Shawn Mendes, if you pay attention to him at all, he's kind of been involved in that for the past couple of years. What is the name of it? Miracle something? Oh, we'll talk about it later in the episode. Anyway, let's get back to this blind item. Unable to find A-list celebrities, Sabrina's team settled on an up-and-coming actor, Barry Keoghan, and orchestrated a series of strategic leaks, photo ops, and stories to create buzz around her album. The breakup was deliberately leaked just 3 days before the album dropped to maximize attention and keep her fans engaged. In her songs, Sabrina takes jabs at Shawn despite their brief and shallow relationship PR hookup. They barely spent time together and had little in common. He was never that interested, especially considering his decade-long history with Camila, who he's reportedly still trying to win back. Sabrina has become known for short-lived flings within the industry where the men often return to their exes, yet she remains the it girl, heavily promoted by the industry. What's often overlooked is her pattern of pursuing men who are already in relationships or have recently broken up with someone she knows. For example, Joshua Bassett and Olivia Rodrigo. This behavior has earned her a reputation as a pick-me. Someone who is always envious and waiting in the wings to snatch someone else's man. I love the little definition we get there. For anyone who doesn't know what a pick-me is, here it is. With Camila's career struggling, Sabrina is capitalizing on the situation, trashing both her and Shawn, despite them being on the same label. Since Shawn refuses to tour, the label seems to have given Sabrina free rein to do whatever it takes to boost her numbers. Camila has stayed quiet, continued to support Shawn Mendes' album, and even supported Sabrina's career for 8 years before she was a success. Yet Sabrina's fans are sending Camila death threats and labeling her a whore and a slut for Shawn picking her over Sabrina. As for Barry, he's happy having fun and spending time with his ex and their child. Again, men don't stay and always go back to the exes. We got a lot of opinions in this blind item. So yeah, some things are true in this, some things are just opinions. I have no idea what's going on with Barry, but I think anyone who is anyone. I mean, Sabrina came out with the song Please, 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 and I don't think you write that about someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And I don't think she ever even wanted to. It is very unfortunate for her that Sabrina has now been involved in 2 different love triangles, but I am not ready yet to call her a pick-me or not a girl's girl. And half of the reason is because I'm just so fucking sick of it. Like, oh my God, can we girls give it a break with the fucking morality police everywhere all the time? Are you a girl's girl? Are you a mean girl? Are you a pick-me girl? Are you bunny, fox, or deer pretty? And it's all of these labels and judgments and boxes we have to pin each other in. And I feel like the phrase girl's girl, it was good for like 2 weeks before it got completely bastardized. And it's just used to keep us down. Like, she's not a girl's girl, she's a pick-me, and she's like blah blah blah. And then even people too are saying which I feel like kind of coincides, they're like, Sabrina Carpenter is the straightest woman alive. And I feel like there's a little bit of an underlying edge. For example, you wouldn't ever call a lesbian a pick-me girl, but if someone is super super straight, they're the straightest girl around, it's kind of more likely that you're going to call them a pick-me girl, isn't it? I remember doing a TikTok video about this years ago that nobody liked. A few people liked it, but a lot of people got mad. Where I basically said, I do think a woman's sexuality has a big impact on whether or not she's called a pick-me girl. Because, for example, Kendall Jenner is called a pick-me. She's just so fucking annoying, isn't she? The way she's like, I have anxiety and like, I'm such a nerd. I'm such a tomboy. Like, I'm such a geek. I'm such a geek the way that I like to drink wine with my model friends and like paint sometimes. Ooh, I'm just so nerdy, like it's just annoying. First of all, it's annoying when hot people try to pretend like they're not hot and privileged. Like when somebody tries to pretend to be relatable and they're not. Anyway, but Kendall Jenner doing that seems so pick-me girl-ish because it seems like she's doing it for male attention or to try to appeal to men, versus Cara Delevingne does a lot of pick me things, right? She's always like, oh, I'm just playing the drums and I'm wearing like a backwards hat and like I don't even care. Like I like to talk about sex, but like it's cool and like I love to eat burgers. You know, back in the day, she was the kind of cool girl Tumblr model. Like I just remember that era of her. But because she's queer and I feel like mostly dates women, she doesn't have the pick me essence or aura. But if you took all of those qualities of her and you put it on Sabrina Carpenter or I don't know, Sydney Sweeney or something like that, you would look at that girl and be like, what a traitor to womankind. Like you are a pick me girl. So I just feel like obviously that has a little bit of an impact. Like nobody would call Chappell Roan a pick me girl. She also doesn't do anything pick me. But I just feel like these labels are only ever used to describe women. They're only ever said by women to other women. I'm saying it correct, right? And at this point, I would rather have a girl fuck my boyfriend than have to engage in any more discourse about girls and mean girls and pick me girls. Just fuck my boyfriend and let's be done with it. Like, my God, it's exhausting, you know? What were we talking about here? Let's get over to the next blind item. Okay. This B-plus list former Disney actress singer who is part of a fake love triangle is trying to get into the professional beard game. She is considering the famous YouTuber, but prefers someone more famous like the North of the Border singer. So this is saying that Sabrina was in a fake love triangle with Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett. I think that it was real, at least from Olivia's side, because those songs were heart-wrenching. She was upset. You know, like I absolutely believe that was real. Now, you might be wondering, who is this famous YouTuber that Sabrina is going to, you know, be bearding for? I don't know. A lot of these blind items are like all the same, right? But that would be David Dobrik of YouTube fame. And if you're ever over in West Hollywood, of Dobrik's Doughy Pizza or whatever the fuck he has. He's a controversial ex-YouTuber. He like was a YouTuber. Then he got in trouble for all of his YouTube videos having like sexual assault in them and being like, I'm pranking someone, but really you're just like assaulting them. And now he is on Snapchat, and I believe he's like a millionaire making money off of Snapchat. Which, by the way, I was chatting with a friend when I went out to LA a couple months ago, and she was telling me how, I really want her to talk about this, but she was like, I don't think I can, so you can. Have you been on Snapchat? I obviously haven't because I am 31 years old. But if you go on Snapchat, and she was showing me what it looks like, the explore page, or, you know, whatever it is, how you go to find stuff. Yeah, I'm going to sound like Alex Jones. It's giving, oh no, this is going on YouTube. It's giving underage, malicious stuff going on. Almost every single screenshot was like a girl's boobs out and whipped cream on them, or like two girls in schoolgirl outfits doing a get ready with me. And it was just a bunch of, honestly, I think I'm going to download the app and like make a video where I go through it with a new account just to see how much crazy stuff is on there. Anyway, it's just like really nasty shit. And she was telling me about conversations she's had with Snapchat and how she says like, why is this on there? And they're like, oh, we know, like it's so bad, but like there's nothing we can do about it. And it's like, yes, you can. You own the fucking app. Of course you can do something about it. Anyway, so that's where David Dobrik lives now, because if he were to do anything on YouTube, everybody would be all over him with comments saying, hey, you need to answer for your crimes, some of these literal crimes that happened in your YouTube video. But instead, he stays on Snapchat making explicit, or making content that's supposed to be funny but has explicit undertones and overtones for children. And that's what he does now. And there were all these rumors of Sabrina Carpenter hanging out with David Dobrik back in the day. His assistant, Natalie, I think, had posted some selfies with Sabrina. There were some videos that they had done where like they were both in the same background. So obviously they had both been in the same location on the same night. You know, all of these internet sleuths kind of put it together. And something interesting to me is that David Dobrik has his assistant, Natalie, but he also has an assistant named Taylor something. And this assistant, when he first got her back in the day, I remember thinking, she's like some cute young blonde girl. Is David into her? I personally think David is an asexual sociopath. Like there's not a lot of light behind those eyes there. That being said, his assistant Taylor looks almost identical to Sabrina Carpenter. And David Dobrik has his type. I literally sound like Alex Jones. I'm not trying to accuse him of anything. His type is just like a very young, doll-like looking type of girl, usually. Anyway, whatever. All right, it looks as if the closeted north of the border singer, Shawn Mendes, was once again convinced by his team to sign a bearding contract. I just have to pause here. Bearding happens. It absolutely happens. For example, we just did an episode over on Patreon all about Tom Hanks, and he was hanging out on David Geffen's yacht, and David Geffen is gay, but back in the day, he like dated Cher before he came out. You know, sexuality is a thing. It's just a thing. That being said, I don't think that there's a quill, ink, and bearding contracts are signed specifically. But anyway, let's continue with this blind item. They need to get him, Shawn Mendes, back to work and earning money. Having a girlfriend gets people drawn into him and his story, and he can claim new music was inspired by her rather than the team of writers who actually wrote it all. And while I think parts of this blind item aren't true, I completely agree that being paired up as a couple gets the clicks, gets the views. Everyone is more successful when they are paired up in a couple and they have relationship drama going on. And this is true of the A-list stars all the way back to when, you know, Jake Paul pretended to be dating Alyssa Violet, or then Tana Mojo, or, oh my God, his assistant Erica for a bit. I mean, this is like niche YouTube stuff, but it's always better when it's a couple or rumors of a couple. People just love to see a couple. They really do. I don't know why. Now, because obviously a lot of these blind items are like, this was all fake. This was all PR. I think, you know, they were intimate with each other and moments were shared together. But I will say there's songs about Shawn Mendes on Sabrina's album, but it's nothing heart-wrenching. You know, it's definitely a little bit of, I'm miffed. My ego was bruised. That was disappointing, but it wasn't any sort of Olivia Rodrigo or Taylor Swift level of, you know, my bleeding heart is open on the floor and I don't know who I am or what I'm worth anymore because you left me. I love those types of songs, and they weren't really on the album. All right, up next we have some blind items about Shawn and Camila. So here we go. This foreign-born illiterate singer, is she foreign-born? Anyway, is desperate after all of her singles flopped, and she's now trying to get some relevancy by using her old ex-boyfriend. Who's gonna tell her? If you have been reading blind items for a while, what you would read about Camila Cabello would be that she and Charli XCX had something in common other than both opening up for Taylor Swift on the Eras tour. You get what I'm saying, right? They both like to put the same substance up their nose, okay? And that's what the blind items would say. And the blind items would also say she cares about her career and she wants to get to the top, and perhaps she does it through some ways that your mother wouldn't suggest to you, but she's always been eager to rise to the top and really put her where her mouth is. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of the lore of her blind items. Let's read another one here. The foreign-born illiterate singer is doing anything she can to salvage her recording career, even if it means getting back together with the north of the border singer. And this is what I find so crazy. I know every once in a while we like it when people get back together. We like it when Justin Bieber and Selena did it. We liked it for a hot second when Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck did it. Sometimes it's a little bit nice. It's a little bit, ooh, look at that. I personally think, and let me know what your take is, we've seen enough of Shawn and Camila. Shawn has dated a few people after. Who has she dated? I just haven't seen her with anyone. If I could give any advice to her, I would say you need a sleek, short bob, you know, or kind of like, you know, shorter hair, maybe like to your shoulders. Almost like in the Havana music video where she's wearing like the red cap. I think that would look so chic on her. And I just think you got to make that poppy, none of this like indie Charlie XCX music. Make music that makes you want to go out to a club and dance and spin around and like move your body and like sensual stuff. I just think she was so good at that. And date someone new, like I feel like Camila was really able to change up her look and her aesthetic and do it all for a change. So if you're trying to have, a new chapter in your life and a new era, like all of these girl pop singers have to do, why would you bring the old man from the past back into it? Give us a new man. But like Sabrina says in her song Slim Pickens, who in God's good gravy would it be? When I try to think of like an eligible man for a celebrity woman to date, I come up with Jack Harlow and Andrew Garfield maybe, but I feel like he's getting older now. Like, what's going on? It's just Jacob Elordi. Like, I just feel like there's not a lot of people to pick from, Anyway, this is an interesting one, obviously, about the VMAs that are coming up in September. The foreign-born illiterate singer wants to drag the north of the border singer along as her date at the music awards thing to really tick off the coffee singer, which of course would be Sabrina Carpenter with the song. That's that Me Espresso. Obviously, they're going to do something. If I was them, I would show up together as a couple. And fuck it, I would say we're going to perform Señorita on stage just to go crazy. So I'm sure they will do something. We just know it's going to be very, very exciting. All right, and then the last Camila blind here says, this foreign-born, illiterate, A-B+ singer/actress is out of money. She kept her spending high and her income is down from about 90% of its peak. And this has been something that's been with her in the blind items for the past 3-4 years. Both her and Shawn Mendes allegedly are having some money trouble. All right, and now we're going to finish with some Shawn blind items, and then we're going to get into my notes and the theories. The North of the Border singer has so many different people trying to control his life and live off of him. He needs a complete break and to have someone acting in his best interest. Also, if this next album is a bust, he will go broke. That's what I said, right? There's a lot of money trouble for the blind items for him. This blind item I don't think is true, but I would love it if it was. I think that it would be so sexy and help both of them. This foreign-born A-list singer has always been closeted and very secretive, but he and this former boy bander, allegedly Niall from One Direction, were inseparable this weekend. They sat together at the Super Bowl in 2022. If it's true, I would love it. I think it would be great for both of them. I think it would be fun. Date each other. And then this last one is so funny. Taylor Swift always is having these gay rumors about her on the internet, that she in the past could have been a girl kisser, maybe with Karlie Kloss, maybe Diana Agron. I don't know who spreads these vicious rumors about Taylor Swift on the internet and about her maybe being a girl kisser. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that someone would do that, but I think these people do it. And anyway, the New York Times put out this opinion piece where somebody wrote an op-ed suggesting that maybe Taylor Swift could be weaving queer lyrics and codes throughout her song. And everybody was like, you can't question a woman's sexuality. And then someone allegedly from Taylor Swift's camp gave a little bit of their feedback to CNN. And they said, quote, this article about Taylor and her sexuality wouldn't have been allowed to be written about Shawn Mendes or any male artist whose sexuality has been questioned by fans, which it came from Taylor Swift's camp because she is the quickest person ever to be like, as a woman, this would never happen to a man, and I am being treated differently because I am a woman. Is the irony not lost on you? That you're saying this article would never be written about Shawn Mendes? So you're just outing Shawn Mendes? You're saying Shawn Mendes because he's an example of a man whose sexuality has been questioned. So of course the same thing happens to men. It happens to Shawn Mendes. It happens to Harry Styles. It happens to Taylor Lautner. It happens to Jake Gyllenhaal. It happens to all of your ex-boyfriends. It happened. Gay rumors have been plaguing men constantly. Of course. I think I did it thrice in this episode. So for her to be like, oh my God, you're doing this too. You would never question a man's sexuality. So why are you questioning mine? The most stupid thing ever. And also now you just blew up Shawn Mendes' spot. It was such a weird thing that the source told CNN. Idiotic. All right, we're done with the blinds. Let's get into some of the notes. The first thing that I was picking up on, and it surprised me, I think it might surprise you, I feel like sometimes I don't have a good handle on who is famous to all of the world. And I was listening to Tori from Ready to Be Petty and Ready to Be Romanced, and Cam from What I Will Say, they did a podcast episode together. And Tori was bringing up the point that Julianne Hough of Dancing with the Stars and other dancing and blah, blah, blah fame, she was like, I think Julianne Hough is way more famous than we would think because sure, like we don't have cable, our generation. We're not really watching Dancing with the Stars, but a lot of middle America, a lot of older generations, they are watching and paying attention to this. So she's a really big star in her own right. And it was a good point. It made me think differently. You know, what I think isn't always the way. So looking at the three members of this love triangle and their Instagram following, Sabrina is the least famous. Sabrina has 39 million followers. Camila has 65 million. And Shawn Mendes has 72 million. And I guess I just thought with espresso being everywhere, Sabrina would be on top. And Shawn hasn't done anything in the last year, but Shawn is almost like twice as famous as her. All right, so let's get into the theories, right? Obviously, one of the theories is that they were just dating for PR. The whole thing was fake, blah, 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 blah. The second theory that I want to talk about, we're speculating on sexuality. I'm sorry. It's just because it was in all of the blind items. They're all like, Shawn Mendes is gay and he's bearding and he's faking everything and he's in the closet. I don't think he is. I think everyone is bisexual until they prove it to me by making out with only one gender for their entire life in front of me all the time. Otherwise, unless you do that, I'm just going to think that everyone's bisexual. I'm so sorry. And I think that's true of Shawn Mendes. I think that's true of almost everyone. But we did this very interesting episode about a year ago over on Patreon where I was kind of diving into a pattern that I've noticed with celebrities where men with gay allegations, there's no other way to put it, usually date older women. Nick Jonas, for example, he's always had these gay allegations and he's always from, what was her name, Delta Goodrem to Priyanka Chopra, he's always dated older women. Harry Styles was recently dating an older woman. Shawn Mendes recently dated that older woman, the doctor, which we're going to be talking about. And I just think it's a pattern I noticed. Hugh Jackman and his wife, even though I believe they got divorced, there's this trend of a well-groomed, beautiful, pretty, young Hollywood man who starts to get, you know, his sexuality questioned by rumors, and then they end up in a relationship with an age gap and an older woman. And I just went, it's just an interesting pattern I noticed. And perhaps that's just, I notice it because it's so fucking rare for any man in Hollywood at all to date a woman even 2 years older than them. So, you know, it's just something that you kind of noticed. Now, Shawn Mendes, you see anything about him online and you look at the comment section and there's going to be the nail emoji or people talking about how he's into men. Like, it is everywhere online. And sometimes he doesn't help himself with the quotes, right? Like saying that Camila was giving Cher at the Met Gala, or how he used to rock Chelsea boots, but now he's not rocking the Chelsea boots. Or, you know, it's all stereotypical things, but that's kind of his vibe on the internet. And I really feel for him on this because this isn't something that he never talks about. He's spoken about it a lot, and I'm going to share some quotes of this. In 2020, he went on Dax Shepard, his armchair expert podcast, and he said, quote, "There were some people in my life that I was very, very close to who were gay and in the closet, and I felt this real anger for those people. It's such a tricky thing. You want to say, I'm not gay, but it'd be fine if I was gay, but also there's nothing wrong with being gay, but I'm not. You don't really know how to respond to the situation. Everyone's been calling me gay since I was 15 years old. I'm not gay. And I'm like, what does that mean? I had these problems with the way my voice sounded. I'm like, how do I sit? I'm always the first to cross my legs and sit with the position of this feminine style. And I really suffered with that shit. I think a lot of guys go through that. And even worse than that, there are so many guys who are gay and in the closet and must be hearing shit like that and be like, I'm terrified to come out." He then said that he grew up surrounded by female cousins, and he said, quote, "I didn't grow up wrestling. I grew up getting my hair braided on New Year's Eve. It just completely depends on the way you grew up in your life and your surroundings." And then he said that he's found a divine middle ground with his sexuality. "I'm still a little bit more manly than that, so I don't know. It's a little confusing, so I'm just going to let it be what it is." Now look, I'm going to keep my bisexual conspiracy hat on for just one more second and say a divine middle ground. I also have a divine middle ground with my sexuality. Anyway, now I'm going to take the bisexual conspiracy hat off. Yeah, that sounds fucking hard and difficult. And the way that it's so stereotypical down to the way that you dress, the way that you sit, the way that your voice is, like these things that you can't control. And I can't even imagine how difficult that must be. And hearing him talk about it and use those examples, all the way to having my hair braided on New Year's Eve and worrying about how I sit and my voice. I can't even, those are just the few snippets he's sharing in a podcast. I can't even imagine how it weighs on you as this burden of not only are you a celebrity and you're worried about what you say and how you sing and how you perform and how you walk because, you're being analyzed by everybody. But now you also have to kind of perform this other layer of, well, I can't just be myself because everyone thinks that I'm gay. So I have to be a more manly version of myself, but I also need to be the most authentic version of myself. But the authentic one is one that people think is gay, and it's not wrong to be gay, but I'm not gay. So I have to try to do these things. Like, it sounds like a fucking nightmare. And it just sounds really, really, hard. He talked about it again that same month in an interview with The Guardian where he said, "There was a desperation for me to come out as being gay, which is such a ridiculous thing. I got upset because I know people who are gay who haven't come out, and I know the suffering they experience because of that. It's just completely ignorant and insensitive of people to be on that shit." He's spoken before too, saying, quote, "this massive, massive thing for the last 5 years about me being gay." And the one quote that really sealed it for me, I forget when or where he said this, but he said, quote, "I thought, you fucking guys are so lucky I'm not actually gay and terrified of coming out. That's something that kills people. That's how sensitive it is. Do you like the songs? Do you like me? Who cares if I'm gay?" I can't even imagine. And I just don't think he's gay. I mean, egg on my face in 5 years if he ever comes out, but I'm just putting my, flag in the ground here and saying that I just don't think so. Do I think he's bisexual? Yes, I think everyone in the world is, but I think that he's absolutely having sex with women, attracted to women, and maybe there's plus etc. onto the end of that, but that would mean you're not technically gay. So, that's what I think about Shawn Mendes, and I just think, we're going to get into this later. I'll finish the rest of my thoughts soon because they kind of all come together. Now, of course, he was dating that older woman, Jocelyn Miranda. They said that they weren't dating. They were. There was an age gap. She was 51 and he was 24 when they were dating. That's a 27-year age gap. That's pretty serious. So she's like a doctor, this well-seasoned celebrity doctor. She's worked with Blake Griffin, Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake, the Chainsmokers, and she's known Shawn Mendes for a while, which makes them hanging out all the creepier. They're like, oh no, they've been friends for a while. And it's like, okay, so before he was 24, now that makes it even creepier. You were trying to make it uncreepy, but it just got creepier. Anyway, so she is like a doctor, but it's some of the stuff seems a little bit sketchy. Like she uses these diaphragm breathing techniques and craniosacral therapy. I just feel like a lot of celebrities end up getting kind of hoodwinked into pseudoscience medicine from doctors, which, by the way, that's the first thing I would want to do if I was a celebrity and had money. I would be like, pseudoscience me the fuck up. But not only was she his doctor, like they would get coffee together. They went to a few Grammys after parties together. They went grocery shopping at Erewhon together. They went hiking and to get smoothies. And I don't know about you, but when I see a doctor, she gives me a pap smear and then I come back a year later. Like that's about it. I don't really go to Grammys after parties and then get smoothies with them. But I don't know. All these celebrities do things differently. It was basically alleged that they were dating for a while. So who knows? I just found that as an interesting parallel because, like I said before, there is this parallel of men in Hollywood who have gay allegations and end up dating older women. Who knows why they do that? Now, something else that could be a theory, why Shawn is so kind of 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out with Sabrina and Camila is that sometimes people do talk about this phenomenon. And once again, you know that I don't believe Shawn Mendes is gay, but people do talk about how gay men who are closeted and date women because, they're not ready or they're scared, they don't want to come out yet, they treat women badly sometimes. And I think maybe that could be because they're resentful of the woman. Maybe they just don't like women. They want to be dating a man. Maybe they have these feelings of anger that they kind of take out on their partner. And not, I'm not talking in like a physically violent way, but in not giving you what you deserve, not treating you well, not giving you respect, perhaps cheating on them with a partner that they actually desire. And, I think a lot of this, it doesn't come down. I'm not trying to say gay men are evil. It's just something where it's like sexuality is hard. It's hard to have and hold in the society that we live in today. So sometimes people try to live by the rules, but who they want to be feels like they can't come out. So it comes out in other forms and different ways of expression. Who knows? Now, let me end by saying, what do I think happened? Why do I think Shawn Mendes left Sabrina Carpenter for Camila Cabello? I think that his heart was never really in it. I think that they hooked up. It seemed like it was going to be fun. I'm sure Sabrina really wanted it to happen because maybe their record label was encouraging it. And it seemed like it would be really good for the album. And in her song Slim Pickens, it just kind of seems like there's not a lot of eligible guys out there for a young, beautiful, successful pop star to date. This seemed like a good opportunity. And I think Shawn was kind of never into it. And I think, based off of what she said about him in the song Dumb and Poetic, I believe that Shawn Mendes, it's going to sound like I'm going to be trying to, what do the kids say? Read him, drag him. I think that he is a man with a weak foundation. How could you not be? If you are in the public eye and you're a man and everyone for the last 5 years has been calling you gay and your music label, you're having money trouble and they want you to put out new albums and you kind of found your way into this cult and maybe you found your way into the cult because you're struggling with something or you have a weak foundation. Let's just say somebody who joins a cult isn't somebody with the strongest foundation and backbone. And by the way, this isn't like anyone can be a part of a cult. It's easy to entrap someone. I'm talking specifically about celebrities who, like Tom Cruise heading to Scientology. There's like a hole you're trying to fill or maybe pressure from the industry. So I think of Shawn as someone with a weak foundation who feels like he has a lot to kind of prove to the public and with his reputation. Camila Cabello, say what you want about her, I believe she has a strong foundation. I love watching her live performances because she has confidence oozing out of every pore. It's almost so much confidence that it borders a little bit on the JoJo Siwa tier where it's like, maybe you should feel a little bit of shame or cringe for doing certain things. It's weird how we want other people to be humiliated sometimes, but we do. But Camila Cabello, like when I see her perform, I'm like, she's got great stage presence. She wants to be on that stage. She's going to do something. And if she falls, she's going to dust herself off and get right back up and not really care and overthink about it. There is something very freeing and a little bit chaotic and messy, but fun in her. And I think a man like Shawn Mendes with kind of a weak foundation who does feel this need, like he said before in interviews, to be seen with a woman. So that way there's not these gay rumors about him. I think he sees Camila. They have 8 years of best friendship under their belt. There is certainly attraction between them. We've seen that. If he's paired with her, it kind of takes him back to that place where he felt safe from the public and the gossip and the rumors about his sexuality. And I think she's like a soft space for him to land. I also think too, he's given those quotes about how what was that cringe quote when he was like, I love Camila. She's so crazy and different. Like she'll call up a Chinese restaurant and be like, do you have a banana I could order? And then pick it up. And they're like, we don't serve bananas here. There was some sort of, if you know, there was some story that he told about her asking restaurants for bananas because she was so crazy and off the ball. And while I think a lot of people nowadays would look at that and be like, it's so cringe, I just think Shawn looks at it and he goes, there's my safe buddy. There's my buddy who's kept my secrets and been my best friend for 5 years. And I feel safe with her. And we have things in common. And our family knows each other. And we have attraction between each other. And I'm having money troubles. I don't have an album out yet. I have been working with this group that people think is a cult and this older doctor. I'm going on hikes with her. I'm kind of in a moment of crisis and I feel like I have an unsteady foundation. I'm going to go back to something familiar and it's going to feel good. And I think that's what he did. That is my wild, wild speculation. Take everything with a grain of salt. These are strangers to me. And I am wildly speculating, but I think I nailed it. I just think that's what happened. When you look at all the blind items and the lyrics and the timeline and, this alleged cult that he was in for the past couple of years, makes sense to me. All I know is I am so excited for September 11th this year, 2024, because the VMAs are going to be a hot fucking mess and it's going to be so, so, so incredible and fun to watch. So thank you for hanging out with me for this episode. If you want to hear our album review on Short and Sweet, the Sabrina Carpenter album, I did 40 minutes of that over on Patreon. We also just did kind of a conspiracy focused episode about Tom Hanks, why I hate Tom Hanks and I think that he's a bad guy, but not for the reasons that the internet says, for other reasons. So you can check all of that out on patreon.com/fluentlyforward. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye guys.